Here's what we recommend. Run a nonpartisan voter registration drive around a significant holiday like July 4th as a dry run. When you think they're all registered, I had a pastor the other day told me that a 92-year-old in his church, he thought they were all registered, just registered to vote when they did their dry run. So run one around, say, July 4th. Run two more on back-to-back Sundays in September. After the summer travel is over, after, Labor Day, do it in 2 Sundays back-to-back and just insist you've got to register to vote. Welcome to Faith Wins. I'm Chad Connelly. This is a place for real conversations, real leadership, and real faith. Because when pastors lead, faith wins. Hey everybody, Chad Connelly with the Faith Wins podcast here again. I hope you're doing awesome. Here we are rolling into summertime. And I had a question the other day that I thought we'd talk about on the podcast. So if you're a pastor who has recognized there's a 5-alarm fire going off in America, I got to engage this culture. I have to get my people engaged. I cannot sit on the sidelines. I can't be lazy. I can't be complacent. I can't think that somebody else is going to do this. And it's summertime 2026. And I want to maximize Christian votes and voices by the November midterms in November 2026. What do I do next? Have I got a list for you? Listen, I know it feels overwhelming. The last thing I want to do with all of you pastors is give you something else. I want to come alongside you and supplement and complement what you're doing to lead. I know you're always looking for ways to serve. Always looking for ways to serve God's people, always looking for a way to lead with the voices that they need to cut through the clutter and the nastiness that's out there. I want to read you a couple things because you're not the only one to feel overwhelmed. I've been in Judges 6 and 7 talking with our friend Gideon and relearning the story of Gideon. Now, let me just read something from a devotional I read this morning. This is straight at you and I. As you prayerfully consider how you will serve God today, do not be deterred by an enemy that seems to have the upper hand. Don't be concerned that American Christians seemed outgunned and out-resourced. Don't be tempted to walk away from the battle with our country at stake. Though we are worn out, our nation's only hope is Christians who would step forward to remain in the battle and re-enlist in the fight. All we hold dear is at stake. So in my reading, I do the 1-year Bible, and I'm in Judges right now. And Gideon holds a special place in my heart, and I'll actually tell you a story about that in just a minute. But I want to read to you from Charles Spurgeon's Morning and Evening. And this is actually from morning of September 20th. If you've got a Spurgeon, you can do the Google and find it. But it's from Judges 7:20, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And this goes straight at me every time I think I can sit it out, or, hey, I'm outnumbered, I can't possibly impact this. And I start leaning on my own understanding instead of God's. I start thinking that I got to solve this when really it's God. So this is from Spurgeon, Morning and Evening. Gideon ordered his men to do two things. Covering up a torch in an earthen pitcher, he bade them at an appointed signal, break the pitcher and let the light shine, and then sound with the trumpet, crying, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. This is precisely what all Christians must do. First, you must shine. Break the pitcher which conceals your light. Throw aside the bushel which has been hiding your candle, and shine. Let your light shine before men. Let your good works be such that when men look upon you, they shall know that you have been with Jesus. Then there must be the sound, the blowing of the trumpet. There must be active exertions for the ingathering of sinners by proclaiming Christ crucified. Take the gospel to them, carry it to their door, put it in their way. Do not suffer them to escape it. Blow the trumpet right against their ears. Remember that the true war cry of the church is Gideon's watchword, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. God must do it. It is his own work, but we are not to be idle. Instrumentality is to be used, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. Pay close attention to this. This really strikes me. I read this devotional a lot. Spurgeon goes on, if we only cry the sword of the Lord, we shall be guilty of an idle presumption. And if we shout the sword of Gideon alone, we shall manifest idolatrous reliance on our own arms of flesh. We must blend the two in practical harmony, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. We can do nothing of ourselves, but we can do everything by the help of our God. Let us therefore in his name determine to go out personally and serve with our flaming torch of holy example and with our trumpet tones of earnest declaration and testimony, and God shall be with us, and Midian shall be put to flight into confusion, and the God of hosts shall reign forever and ever. I love that, because I am guilty, and you probably are too. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And oh Lord, I forgot. I should have been praying to you and asking you to guide me do this, because it's overwhelming. I got a prayer list on the side of my desk, and I try to go through it every day. I don't always do it every day. I got to admit, I'm sorry. And I add stuff from, people in my Sunday school class. I just added after church this week, people going through health challenges or job challenges. And I try to add stuff going on nationally and internationally. It's overwhelming. It is overwhelming until we realize God doesn't want me to do this alone. I got to tell you a story about Gideon that I don't tell very much anymore. It was in the early 2000s. I'd written my first book, Freedom Tide, which is just a short little book about Christians waking up. It's the same thing I'm doing now. I got the title Freedom Tide from a Reagan quote. He spoke to the Board of Governors in 1986, and he said, the tide of the freedom of the tide of the future is a freedom tide. And so it's a peace tide, because the greatest guarantee of peace is national freedom and democratically elected governments. And I was listening to a radio show, actually coming home late from a meeting, and I heard that freedom tide. I like that. And so that became the title of my book. And I had a mentor who's in heaven now. He's been in heaven since 2008, named Charlie Tremendous Jones. Charlie was one of the International Speakers Hall of Fame. Charlie was just a dear servant of God, just a godly man and leader, a phenomenal speaker, amazing guy. He published my book. And I told him, I said, Charlie, I think I'm supposed to read a book. I'm supposed to write a book. And I don't know how to write a book. I went to Clemson. I don't even know any big words, as I say. And I got an engineering degree. But I just felt convicted. We've got to wake Christians up. Same thing I've been doing on the podcast is it's a 5-alarm fire going off in America. It's time for Christians to wake up and do something about it. Get off the sidelines. Get engaged in the culture. And so the same thing. So 20 years ago, as Charlie says, Chad, take one of your talks. Let Michelle, my first wife who passed away, let Michelle take your talk and clean it up. Take your ain'ts and all your Southern slang out and transcribe it, and that becomes your book. That's what I did. He said, if you want people to read it, make it less than 100 pages. My book's 80 pages. I wanted people to read it. And, praise the Lord, we sold 60,000. I gave away a bunch promoting it, but we got a lot of books out there. I believe it impacted people because it did teach about American Christian history and God's role in America. But here's what happened when I published the book. And this is the story about Gideon. And I don't tell this very often, but I wanted to do this on one of our Faith Wins podcasts. So I shared it with a bunch of people, and y'all should share it too. So it's early 2000s. The boys are little. This is before Michelle went through her depression and suicide. That was 2006. This is prior to that. And a friend of mine had run, he was a state senator from my little district in South Carolina, Newberry County, South Carolina. He won the lieutenant governor's race. It left an open seat. And so my friends called and said, Chad, you always say Christians got to step up. You got to run for office. And I did. I felt convicted. I'm supposed to be in office. God wants me to be out there speaking the truth and biblical truth. And I'm supposed to lead in this political arena. That's what I'm supposed to do. And so I thought, well, maybe so. But hey, guys, I told my friends this. I just published this book. God used to be directing me toward politics, but now he's getting me to be a speaker. He wants me to go speak this, and he wants me to study the history and God's role and kind of do what my buddy David Barton at Wallbuilders is doing and go teach it and duplicate his efforts. He doesn't want me. God does not want me to run for state senate. How many of y'all ever argue with God? You had this back and forth. So here I am having this back and forth. Well, they just pound me. It's going to be a special election, and you're going to have to file by December 1st because the election for lieutenant governor my friend had won was early November. So they set this special election. You had to file, if I believe the date's right, December 1st, which was a Monday at noon. And the special election was like mid-February. So my friends just badgered me. You're supposed to run for state senate. You're supposed to run for state senate. I had printed 10,000 copies, and I gave away all the profit in promotion. So my wife and I made a decision to print 25,000 more and get a bigger price break so we could have a little bit better margin. And we broke the bank, y'all. We spent every dime we had to print that 25,000, didn't go into debt. And Charlie worked with us and he was terrific. So I print 25,000 books. You ever seen 25,000 books stacked up? Because by this time I got little boys. They're used to things like food and shelter. And so I was in a promote or perish thing. I got to promote. I got to go speak. I thought the speaking career and the selling books career was totally isolated and I could not go run for state senate. So I decided I'm not going to run. Well, they badgered me and badgered me. You at least got to pray about it. Okay, I'll pray. And so I did. But I already knew the answer. I was hard-headed and arrogant and really looking on my own understanding. But I'm not proud of this, but this is exactly what happened. So I said, okay, Lord, I'm reading Gideon. Gideon put out 2 fleeces. I'm going to put out a fleece because if I'm supposed to run for Senate, I want it to be you and your conviction, not Chad. I don't want it to be about Chad. And so, Lord, Gideon put out 2 fleeces, and I'm just going ahead and ask you for 3. And y'all know the story of Gideon. He asked for the fleece to be wet and the ground to be dry, and then the fleece to be dry and the ground to be wet. And God fulfilled both. And God proved, hey, this is of me. This is not something you're dreaming about. So I was just going to follow that pattern. But I also knew God didn't want me to run for Senate. I know he don't want me to run for Senate. I just printed 25,000 books. How am I going to sell books if I'm in the state Senate? This is nuts. I do not have to run for Senate. I already know God's answer. I know, pretty selfish, pretty arrogant, pretty stupid, short-sighted. But I put out 3 fleeces. I said, okay, Lord, I got to file by December 1st. This was probably mid-November. I said, Lord, if you'll give me 3 speaking engagements where I can sell books between December 1st and the special election, I'll know. Remember, that's in February. I'll know it's you, Lord. And also, by the way, I'm building this wall God can't get over because I know that nobody hires speakers at Christmas time. I feel pretty safe. I said, Lord, second thing, it was not too much trouble, Lord. Can you let there be 1,000 people at every speaking engagement? Now, keep in mind, at this point in my speaking career, 1,000 people had never heard me say anything at the same time. And Lord, if it's not too much trouble, third fleece, would you let the people that hire me and contract me to speak, would you let them pre-order 1,000 books? Speakers love when they pre-order books. You don't have to be good then. They got your book. So I'm feeling pretty confident I'm not running for Senate. I'm going to be speaking. I'm going to build my speaking career. God doesn't want me to run for Senate. This fleece thing I'm doing, we're just going to prove it. So we're 2 weeks from filing date and my phone rings. And this guy said, Chad, oh man, I got a hold of your book. Thanks for sending me a copy. Would you come and speak to our organization? Well, sure, Mr. Carroll, I'd love to come speak. Tell me a little bit about it. He said, well, it's in Memphis, Tennessee. Bring your wife and boys. We'll treat you great, give you a good honorarium. We got about 1,200 people coming to it. And by the way, it's that second weekend in January. Are you free? Well, matter of fact, I am free. Yes, sir. I'm free that weekend. He said, and by the way, can you go ahead and ship us 1,000 books ahead of time? That way we got them on hand. We'll sell them there. And you and I are done with that part of it. I'm like, whoa, okay, Lord, what are you doing? You just fulfill all 3 things. Got to be between December 1st and February 1st. 1,000 people at the speaking engagement, and they pre-ordered 1,000 books. I'm pretty shocked, right? But I really don't think this is happening. It had coincided with my promotion anyway. Goes along a few more days, and a guy who's a dear friend of mine, a guy named Roland Hughes. Roland's 96 now, just a man of wisdom, man of God. And I'd spoken for Roland before, and he calls me just a few days after Mr. Carroll did. And he said, Chad, you don't believe what happened. I said, what happened, Roland? He said, I had a speaker back out on me in December. What are you and Michelle doing that first weekend of December? Well, we're open that weekend. What do you got in mind? He said, well, it's in Chattanooga. I got about 1,500 people coming. And by the way, do you mind just going and shipping me 1,200 books ahead of time so we don't have to deal with it over Thanksgiving? And then it's right after that. Whoa. Well, yeah, yes, sir. I have 1,000 books on hand. I'll ship you 1,000 books, and wow, what a blessing, Roland! And we'll be there that first weekend of December. 2 out of 3, y'all. 2 of the dates, they meet the dates. Speaking engagement numbers, pre-order books. I'm pretty blown away. Third thing, I'm speaking in Philadelphia. And by the way, if you've not gone to Philadelphia and done Constitutional Hall and Valley Forge, you owe it to yourself to go make that a trip with your kids, your grandkids, your family. It's awesome to see what the founders did to pay the price for freedom we enjoy. So I was speaking there, did a tour of Valley Forge, did a tour of Philadelphia with people at the convention, and then I spoke that night. And it was the Tuesday before Christmas or Thanksgiving. So remember, my deadline is December 1st, which I think was the following Monday. And I got to file by noon. And I asked Lord for the Lord to fulfill these 3 fleeces. And if I was supposed to run, then I would file and be obedient. Because I did. I want to be obedient to what God calls. And so I speak on a Tuesday. The people are wonderful. I signed books. I signed books for a long time. I had left Michelle and the boys at home in Prosperity just because it was Thanksgiving week. And I'm just going to drive up. I'm going to speak and I'm just going to drive back. Well, I actually had a hotel room reserved that night at the convention area after I spoke. But it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30. I signed books. I'm tired, but I'm energized because we just had a great night. And I'm ready to get home to Michelle and the boys. It's Thanksgiving and it starts spitting snow and sleet. And I thought, man, I do not want to be stuck in Philadelphia on my Thanksgiving. I'm going home. So around 11 o'clock, I hop in my Jeep Cherokee and I drive west out of Philadelphia, the Valley Forge area on the Pennsylvania Turnpike to then hit Interstate 81 and go down to 77 and go home. And so I'm tooling along. And these are the days when everybody didn't have a cell phone in your pocket. They riveted those things in your car. Some of y'all will remember that. Some of you won't. And my cell phone was positioned in the console, but right beside the driver's seat, and it had one of those pegs, a stand it stands on. And it's like midnight. I'm driving. It's sleeting. I'm tired, having a little bit of a pity party because I'm not with my family, my wife and kids, and I'm driving west. But I'm gonna be home in my bed by 10 or 11 in the morning, whatever. And so my cell phone rings and I answer it. And this guy said, Chad, hey, I'm sorry to bother you this late. And I said, hey, no big deal. You're helping me stay awake in this long drive. I'm driving home after a speaking engagement. He said, well, I'm glad I got you. He said, we got a hold of your book. We love it. You're right. Christians got to be involved. Would you come and speak to our business organization and tell them this? We're going to meet in Toledo, Ohio, and we got about 5,000 people coming. And Chad, if it's not too much trouble, can you ship us 2,500 books? We got plenty of time, but we like to get the books ahead of time and go ahead and just send you a check for that. I'm like, yeah, I'd be honored to speak to 5,000 people. I'd be excited to ship you 2,500 books ahead of time. Sir, when is your meeting? And he said, it's that last weekend of January. And y'all, I was crying so hard I had to pull over. Lord, forgive me for telling you what's right for me. Forgive me for trying to dictate this. I want to lean on your understanding, Lord, and trust in you, not my own. I want to be obedient. Well, I called my wife, woke her up. Hey, we're running for state senate. I called my dad. Hey, Dad, I'm running for state senate. The Lord gave me a clear direction. I put out 3 fleeces, not just 2. He met them all. There's 3 speaking engagements, December, January, February, before the special election, over 1,000 people coming to each. They pre-ordered 1,000 books. I'm supposed to run for Senate. Now, I filed for Senate, and I'd love to tell you I won, and I'm in the state Senate. No, I lost. I lost. You're like, Lord, what are you doing? Why would I go through all that and then lose? Here's what I think the Lord showed me in that 20 years ago. It's not about winning, Chad. It's about being obedient. Listen, I've been in meetings in places that a kid from a town of 500 or 600, you'd think, no way is a guy like Chad Connelly going to be in high-level meetings, every level of politics, any time in his life. I pinch myself. But here's the point. I believe everything God's let me do in these last few years with Faith Wins, with being the first ever national director of faith engagement, with being a state party chairman for the GOP, with doing national TV, with speaking all over the world now, I believe it goes back to that act of obedience. I didn't want to run for state senate. I thought I was supposed to be a speaker and sell books and go around and try to encourage Christians to get involved. But I ran as an act of obedience, and I believe everything God's let me do in these last 20 something years goes back to that moment of being agreeable to run for state senate. Now, I'm a hardhead, and God forgive me for putting 3 fleeces out, but that's why I read you the Gideon part. We can never think it's just about us, but we can never think it's just about God. He works through the willing vessels. The only ability God requires is availability. I want to be available. I want to be obedient to what God calls. You can't get lazy. You can't get complacent. You can't sit on the sidelines. Let's go back to the original question. You're a pastor. It's early summer 2026. The country's on fire with all this division, with all this confusion, with all the clutter. And a pastor asked me, what do I do to have my people maximizing Christian voices by the midterms this fall? Number one, register everybody in your church to vote, Pastor. 100%, not 92%, not 98%, not 40%. Don't assume. Have a nonpartisan voter registration drive. I don't care what state you're in. We've got the links for how to do that on our faithwins.org site. Should be on the screen, faithwins.org. You can find voter registration resources. It's different for different states. Here's what we recommend. Run a nonpartisan voter registration drive around a significant holiday like July 4th as a dry run. When you think they're all registered, I had a pastor the other day told me that a 92-year-old in his church, he thought they were all registered, just registered to vote when they did their dry run. So run one around, say, July 4th. Run 2 more on back-to-back Sundays in September. After the summer travel is over, after, Labor Day, do it in 2 Sundays back-to-back and just insist you've got to register to vote. Most of the time, it's this tough joke of putting a table in the back, in the vestibule, in the foyer, at the entrances and exit areas of the church, staffing it with somebody to have voter registration forms. In some states, you can gather those and take them down. Other states, we provide a self-addressed stamped envelope, or the church does, and we mail them in. Other states, the person has to mail them in. Whatever it takes to make it easy. Number one, if you're getting started right now, what do I got to do as a pastor? Number one, register them all to vote. Number two, use voter guides to teach them about the biblical issues. Use sermon topics to teach your congregation about the issues. What are the issues? It's always life. God's life. God matters. We're image bearers of God. We're created in His image. We shouldn't be killing babies. Number two, biblical marriage. It's one man, one woman. It's not 150 gender blender nonsense stuff that whatever we feel like today because the wind's blowing different. It's one man, one woman, biblical marriage. God said it. I didn't. Be mad at Him. 3, Israel, the Middle East. We're going to talk about all these issues, by the way. Religious liberty, freedom of conscience, national sovereignty, no crime, putting criminals in prison, having them pay their due. The idea of self-government, which is a biblical idea. The idea of limited government. I can go on and on and on. You ought to be teaching your people in your pews about the issues of the day. So number one, register them all. Number two, teach about the issues of the day. And yes, use voter guides. iVoterGuide.com, Faith and Freedom. Go to their websites and pull theirs, but we've got on our site too. Number one, register everybody to vote, 100%, no excuses. Number two, teach them what biblical values are and how to examine those based on candidate stances, policies, and positions. Number three, most states need Christian poll watchers. Election integrity matters. Watch our website for when we're doing this in some of the key battleground states. We did this extensively in the last 2 election cycles. The parties, the committees bragged that they've got tens of thousands of people they were going to do poll watching. No, they didn't. They were signing people up at rallies and never following up. We didn't even put people on a list till they had been slotted, trained, and placed into a precinct or a county where they were going to do poll watching. So a lot of people are just embellishing numbers, we'll say. And I told some of the elected officials, our numbers will be modest compared to what you hear on TV, but our numbers will be honest. And we had pastors run that in 7 different states last cycle. So if you got people who want to be poll watchers, watch our faithwins.org site. So number 3, recruit poll watchers, Christian poll watchers in your church. Review real quick. If I'm a new pastor, if I'm a pastor who says I've never been engaged politically, strategically in the culture, What do I got to do? I only got a few months till the election. What do I do? Number one, voter registration. 100% of the people in your church register. Number two, teach them biblical issues. Use voter guides. Watch our website for that. Number three, recruit and train poll watchers. We'll do all the heavy lifting for you, but find out who in your church wants to be engaged on an election integrity matter, because integrity does matter. Until next time, you go do those things, Pastor. Go help our culture. Our nation needs you, needs your voice to cut through the clutter and give people discernment and wisdom on the issues of the day. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Faith Wins. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode. And remember, when pastors lead, faith wins.